Hi. So in a minute I'll be with you. It's just that I'm with you on YouTube, and I should be with you on Facebook. So I would like to post a link, and I would like to have you with me on YouTube. Madeline is coming. O matko, nie wkleiłam linku. Okay. I'm live on YouTube. Okay, I'm live. Hopefully you will get there. Okay, it's on Amelia and Piglet. Okay, you guys. So basically, I promised you that I would still, follow up a little bit with, more vocabulary surrounding us, and more vocabulary surrounding, a variety of expressions surrounding expression, actually lack of it, that would concentrate on, the words shut up and even the songs that would come along with it, like, Black Eyed Peas, like shut up, shut up, shut up. Oh no, shut up, shut up. So honestly, I was just a little bit distracted with the variety of sources that were coming up. And I think that, if I am supposed to give you the Polish words that you cannot connect to or understand, and the Polish word formation from those words, then it's better that I will just write them and paste them on Facebook within a few days. So sorry for not following up. And off we go with Madeleine. So still, I am in the process, but there are some interesting things that are coming out of it. So, Madeleine is a story of a little girl, and she goes to school in France, and she goes to boarding school. So her teacher is a nun, and her teacher is Mrs. Claviel from French. That's actually coronation type of a flower. And there's going to be a lot about flowers as well, but a lot of the discussion about flowers. But I think just probably with the second, third video. Okay, so Madeleine was first published in 1939 by Ludwig Bemelmans, and it came in 6 books, and almost every of those 6 books was published in the period of 3 years. So he would wait 3 years and then publish another one, and then 3 years, and then publish yet another one, and then he would wait yet another 3 years. And he published like that 5 books, and then the last book was published 25 years later. And I think it's kind of meaningful because the last book's title, Madeleine's Christmas, speaks about Christmas, which we celebrate on the 24th of December. Right. So, we have book titles such as Madeleine's Rescue, Madeleine and the Bad Hat, Madeleine and the Gypsy, Madeleine in London, and Madeleine's Christmas. So today we're going to go through a little bit of the plot from these books, and also to start with just my observations that I had when it comes to the name itself, Madeleine. So, and the way you write it. So for me, it means made line. Sure thing, it's a French name, but as if made line is included in that word. And then when you translate that name into Polish, then you have Magda and Lena. You also have the word mag. So mag can be a magician, and then in Polish you have the word to give, da, and Lena for me it's the type of clothing in English. So it looks like a magician who can, create something out of clothes. And, and we get back to the French version, then it seems like, the company Maybelline can be close to it, because when we think about lines, then here it seems that this person is responsible for, lines that we put on our eyes, or lines of our body that we can navigate uh, through that too, with the right diet or lack of it. So we influence the shape, the lines of our bodies, right? So for me, looking at, such shape of, meaning included in those words, um, something that was eye-opening for me, and I think it makes sense. It makes some sense. Um, okay, so basically, when you look at the version online on YouTube and you watch a few episodes of Madeleine, then you will see that the colors yellow and blue and blue basically dominate in that tale. And it often happened that the girls, there were 12 of them, and um, they would be typically dressed in yellow dresses. Uh, and that may seem a little bit irrelevant, but when you look at the Bella and the Beast, you have the same colors in the very famous scene when Bella dances with the Beast. She wears this stunning yellow dress, and the Beast is dressed in blue, right? So yet again, we have the same colors. I have been thinking about the painting I have written about. So the girl with the pearl, that also presents us with the girl, being dressed in blue and having this shawl, this yellow shawl on her head. And there are pearls in that painting, and pearls also appear in Madeleine. For me, pearls strongly stand and represent witches. And even today, I just watched very quickly Pink, the American singer, and I watched a song and a video clip to the song entitled "Raise Your Glass." So she sings about turning off the light, and raising your glasses. And she says that underdogs will basically stay freaks. And basically, there are a few scenes in that video clip when you can see blue and yellow. Um, and from the past, I remember that we had this little pony, and Trisha had a blue pony with the wings, and he was very special because there was also a pink one, and there was probably one more, but uh, the blue one had blonde hair. I just don't have the yellow marker pen, but the blue little pony had blonde hair, and it was blue, and all of them had a mark over here. um so that was supposed to be a flower. So as if unicorns are, tattooed with flowers. So flower is gonna be a very, very strong symbol of a woman, and symbol of a woman working in the red light streets in Holland. And I will tell you more about it soon. And there is a strong binding with the horse as something unique, something beautiful, and the flower is something unique, something beautiful too. Okay, so I showed you the unicorn because because of the colors it uses. So it uses the very same colors, and I wanted to show you a little bit how this fairy tale played out in my life. So when I saw those episodes with Madeleine, I just saw um, the episode with the string of Pierrots, and I also saw the episode with Can Can dance. So basically, Nan Claviel mentioned Moulin Rouge over there, and the girls were learning to dance, and they also wore very long gloves and hats. So those hats looked pretty much, like cowboys' hats. And my mom used to have a lot of various dresses, so I would use, sometimes it happened, not too often, but sometimes I think I would use those gloves, and the hats, I very often played with the hats, and it also happened that I would dress up with something. But she still has that necklace with pearls, not real pearls, but necklace imitating pearls, and there's the link to Coco Chanel too, because she promoted that look, as if that look from the photo, just from the quick look. Yeah. So I believe I acted out some scenes from that fairy tale, because even the war on pillows, the girls from this boarding school played with pillows, and so did I with my sisters. um, and even actually, even before I become a stripper, then my mom told me that she slept by the nuns, like maybe a night, maybe 2 nights. She stayed there for some time, just when having one daughter. And she told me that she had an opera singer. And opera singers are actually, symbolic people who represent also, performing on the stage, because opera singers act. They not only sing, they act a lot. And opera singers maybe associated with Moulin Rouge, where you also have some bigger, more you have some performances where people are actually dressed in a weird, sometimes in an exaggerated way, and those performances often are followed with getting a little bit undressed on the stage, or very undressed on the stage. But um, I would link that strongly with opera singer as symbolic representation of that. So I had an opera singer in my class, and I also rented a room from Nantes. So that repeated in my life, and I think it was something that my mom knew about. She knew it would happen, and she wanted it to happen in my life, and she wanted me to be a dancer, but not just uh, not just an opera dancer. Yeah. So even when I think of it, we used to live in a place where we would have a look at the defensive wall, and we would have a look at the monastery standing at the top of that wall. And I didn't see nuns most of the time, but I always knew it's a monastery. So, and the cathedral monastery with the cathedral standing right next to it. So girls from Madelaine's story, they would also, maybe I'll go one by one, one by one, the book one by one. So the first story from 1939 is entitled Madeleine, and it tells you a story about Madeleine getting sick and having her appendix removed, which is a story about worms. And I haven't written like the entire article or paragraph on it yet, but there is a lot of expressions in my language, in Polish language, that speaks about flying. And it basically reflected in the nature that when insects fly, then they leave their something, and they make the flower grow, or they make their babies grow, right? This is what they do when they go from flower to flower to flower. So we associate in a language flying with having casual romantic relationships. And there are a lot of expressions in my language that would speak about this air and wind vocabulary. So I think that concept is also reflected in Moulin Rouge and their meal. That basically is the symbol of, well, I don't know how to call it, sex performances, or what's that, that they actually perform over there. But their costumes, like, being dressed in wings, that also speaks to the wind in the air. Right. And then the more I think about it, when you have your appendix removed, I learned from Gigi that then you have less good positive bacteria, right? So if you want to manipulate someone, if you want to shape somebody into being a stripper or into being something even worse than that, then probably it's good to manage them internally and externally via food, via their chemical components in their body. So in that sense, worms were always somehow my fear, and I didn't know it for a long time. But they gave you an article on that topic, how worms are connected, with parasites. So living worms in our bodies, and then it's connected also with those moments where we are dead, and nature shows up in a form of worms. Yeah. And that there's more links to that, because in the past there used to be the fairy tale called Maya, the bee Maya. Yeah. I'll get to that. But Maya is yellow, and I have to, have a look at the tail and tell you if there is a lot of, yellow and blue coming together. But it seems like if she's gonna fly, then it's gonna be a lot of the sky too. Possibly. Yeah. Okay. So, the next fairy tale from Madeleine talks about Madeleine's rescue, and it tells a story about Madeleine falling into the river Seine, and she's being rescued by a dog, a spaniel. And what I want to tell you here is that, Trisha, who was around me when I was that age, Trisha went on a trip to London. Trisha went on a trip to France. Trisha went on a trip to the Netherlands. And when she did go to the Netherlands, she got back and told us a story that she fell into the canal. So I was worried, like, what's the canal? What's the canal? Like, is it underground? And what did you do in there? Like, how could you fall in there? So she explained that the canal in the Netherlands just looks like a river, and she probably was also rescued, but not by a dog, but she was rescued by her friend. And she also said that she didn't say, but sometime later I have met her friend who had two spaniels. So it looked like she was surrounded by the same two dogs, and that type of a dog is, connected with the British family, and it's strongly associated with the King Charles II. Okay, and those two dogs that her friend, Trisha's friend, had, they were very actually well taken care of. Like, that they had their own hairdresser, they had their own dietitian, they had their own person who would walk them. And one of them had won some medals and took part in a competition. But the entire idea, that man was associated with Hard Rock Cafe, and such a place is connected with introducing music that is a little bit of a mixed music. And in such type of a cafe, you can even buy some t-shirts or memorables, souvenirs. So sorry. Okay, so Trisha also went to the boarding school just like Madeleine did, and Trisha also studied French just like in Madeleine on TV, you could hear her speaking English and French. So she definitely mixes two languages. And then in the story of Madeleine and the Bad Hat, what do we learn from that story? Well, we learn about unicorns. Uh, Actually, horses. So at the beginning, Madeleine had a new neighbor, and that neighbor was Spanish. And actually, that neighbor was very important. So it was a Spanish ambassador, but his son was a little bit naughty at the beginning, Pepito, whose name is actually Jose. Yeah, and in that story, Madeleine goes on a trip. She goes on a trip to give a white horse to Pepito. So a French girl, together with 11 other girls, goes on a plane with the white horse. So something very beautiful, something unusual. And she gives that white horse to a Spanish boy named Pepito. So that means Jose. Okay. And when I think about it, during that time, Dad would have a lot of expressions regarding horses. Like, horse would laugh a bit or tell it to a horse. Like, can I do something? Or I would like to tell you something. And he's like, Zamel, tell it to a horse. But on the negative side, there are also those expressions like vali ci konia, so shagging in public, or a horse ride. So when I was approached when I was 9 years old, then I was asking the car if I would like to ride a horse. Nobody told me explicitly that, penis or anything like that. They just used this as a metaphor. But also the vocabulary that was somehow known from my family. And later that vocabulary stayed with us, like in forms of, you could say male horse, you can say conito to somebody, and that was supposedly funny. Or you can laugh as a horse, and that is, rżeć. And the word rżeć is very close to rżnąć. So there is this very tiny linguistic difference, and they are totally different meanings. But rżeć is also connected with a specific type of laughter where you use, yet again, air energy. So there are a lot of as if associations connected with rżeć as a horse, and rżnąć, which is a very negative expression regarding to having sex. I was just wondering, like, what was it? Because during that time there were a lot of Western movies. There was Chuck Norris, there was Dr. Queen, and there was much more, and all of them would depict cowboys typically, sometimes even Indians. You could see Indians on horses too, and we would even take photos. I know I told you, but we would take photos with being placed on the carriage, and there would be two horses, and on that carriage we would be having a photo taken of us as a family, and there were monkeys too very often. So that's the physical representation of horses. But I link that horse thing with something unique with unicorns and with strip clubs, because when working in a strip club, I was told that I was a black horse. First, it was implied to me that I wasn't looking well enough, and then after some time, I was told that I was a black horse, which I didn't even know what that meant. And there's this unicorn that was at home, and Trisha had the best unicorn ever, and she had the best skipper ever, and her doll is actually the sister of Barbie. So it's not just a random doll, it's a doll that includes that is a sister. So in the very, very famous song Moulin Rouge, they sing, "Hey, sisters flow, sisters, sun, sisters in their mamula, da da. So this repetition, hey, sisters flow, sisters soul, sisters go, sisters. There's a lot of references to sisters, 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 which is the African way to refer to each other, and which is also the way that nuns refer to each other. And nuns' education, unfortunately, I saw Madeleine dancing Can Can dance, uh, and Sister Clavier talking about Moulin Rouge. So I believe this the word sister is a connection to African people, and it's a connection to nuns, because when working with nuns, I was referring to them as sisters. Okay. Yeah. So when working in a strip club, I was asked those two things that I have memorized. Sure thing, probably there were more conversations or more questions, but those I remember vividly, like the utterance with the black horse, and then flower. What was my favorite flower? And I just said violet. Because I didn't know what was my favorite flower. For sure, it was not a rose. I never got a rose. I think I never got a rose from a boyfriend. Maybe for my birthday or my name's day when I was little, like little. For sure, for Women's Day when I was little. Mm, mm. Other than that, I just saw Trisha getting roses most of the time. It was Trisha or mom. Um, so those two things about horses, references to horses, and a question about flowers, because there's the strong association with the business of sex trafficking, that using symbolism of a horse, a unicorn, as being something unique, something exceptionally beautiful. I don't know, how do you feel about horses, but when I see one, it's like, wow. And they can be moving, really, like moving. And violet, and the flower. Why the flower? Because of Bella and the Beast, because of Little Prince, and because of Oscar and the Lady in Pink. I think those three references depict a rose closed in the glass. And in the real world, we can see the same phenomenon, the same thing. Women standing behind the glass in the windowsill. So this is basically how and where we keep our pot flowers. We all of us keep them on the windowsill, right? No, of course there is more to it. Oh my. Yeah. So just quickly to finish off, there were many more things that I have seen in Madeleine's fairy tale in later in my life, like walking with the book on my head. I think it's from Madeleine, because I have seen girls doing that over there, and I was even asked by sister director, by Enan, about that specific thing, and that specific thing is connected with building an illusion that we're creating dams over here, the girls who knows best how to behave. And in the old times, I don't know how old, and sorry for not being more specific here, but the dame to keep the company was a dame, and she was trained. And when you think about performing, and when you think about dancing in front of the audience, and you have to be really skilled and trained to do so, right? It takes confidence to do so, and it takes a lot of various skills to do so, right? So in the past, it wasn't like it is now. So that element, and the fact that I have discussed it with my sister director, with the nun, who, by the way, used to wear high heels and skirt, which did not bother me, but just looking at the entire picture and what was presented to me, then yeah. And what else? I mean, there's much more. I mean, the rose. Okay, the rose. I got the rose from my best friend, and I just kept it for many, many years. It was cut out, and it looked like this. And I had it for years with me because I got it from my best friend. And then you had, the blue rose at home, looking like that one, and it looked like a little bit of a statue. It was maybe of this size, and it was unique because it was blue, like this blue unicorn that we had, and there was this teddy. Trisha got a uh, teddy bunny, and that guy is the guy who I had a photo taken with. So as if I was, the time has stopped for a moment when I had, the photo with the bunny because, bunnies stand for, Playboy. And when you look at Madeleine and her friends, this is precisely what they have on their heads. They have like these two ears of the bunny on their heads. And when we were little girls, we used to play a game called Hair. It was something like with shadows, and sometimes with a mirror and those two hairs. And the point was, the shadow was on the wall or somewhere, and you had to go and touch the wall and quickly catch the bunny, the hair. It was called a hair. It just came along right now. Oh my god. So for me, Moulin Rouge, of course, has this windmill, and I just briefly mentioned the energy of the air. So the mill stands for the air energy, and the mill stands for short, fast romance. And someone in the village used to grow a wild rose by their house, and 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 when I worked with nuns, I actually got a rose from the nun for my name day, together with 100 zlotych, which, during that time I just was happy, I was grateful, and this is the moment where we started to think about wishes. Yeah, so oh my, there is so much more I would like to tell you here, but I think I'm leaving it for the next video because those meetings are like 11 minutes long, and today I stayed with you a little bit longer. So I hope you will join my group Nostrils to Nostrils, and there's gonna be much more about, Madeleine and how her life was presented in my life. And the life around people who surrounded me. So thanks for watching, and yeah, talk to you soon.